From January next year, the police will inspect the vaccination cards of all commercial drivers and motorbike riders to ensure that they have taken the COVID-19 shot. Additionally, workers of all government institutions and health facilities will not be allowed into their workplaces if they do not show their vaccination certificates. Absence from work for this reason will deprive a worker of his or her salary. Students of 15 years or above, as well as teaching and non-teaching staff of secondary and tertiary institutions are also expected to be vaccinated before the next academic year. Patrons and workers of all restaurants, stadiums, beaches, and nightclubs are also expected to be vaccinated mandatorily and show proof before entry into such places. The arrangement are part of a mandatory vaccination policy which started yesterday and is to be enforced in January next year after the government has declared December a national vaccination month. A final year student of Three-Town Senior High School at Denu in the Volta region has been sentenced for 4 years in prison with hard labor. The convict, 19-year-old Gilbert Akuffuor, stabbed his teacher John Akuffuor with a cutter on his left upper arm on August 11, 2021. The student was alleged to have been manhandling a first-year student when the teacher intervened, leading to an altercation. The final-year visual arts student in the process pulled out the cutter and attempted to stab the teacher, but ended up leaving a deep cut on the teacher's arm. The presiding judge, His Honor Joseph Ofosu, during the hearing indicated that the punishment was necessary to serve as a deterrent to other students. The student was initially granted bail and allowed to partake in the school's examinations. The National Association of Graduate Teachers was critical of the decision and called for punitive action following the incident. The Kaneshie District Court has rescinded its bench warrant issued on Monday, November 29th, for the arrest of Medina MP Francis Xavier Sosu. This comes after lawyers for Francis Xavier Sosu filed an application for an order to rescind the warrant issued by the court. The legislator's legal team on Tuesday, November 29th, also filed for a stay of execution at the High Court to set aside the bench warrant issued. On Wednesday, the Medina MP, together with some members of the minority in Parliament, attended court over the case of unlawful blockage of public roads and destruction of public property by members of the Medina constituency during a street protest. After proceedings, the court rescinded its initial directive and adjourned the next hearing to January 12, 2022. Mr. Francis Xavier Sosu had failed to be in court on several occasions due to some parliamentary duties outside the country, as communicated by his legal team. Iron and steel manufacturing company Fabry Metal Ghana Limited has commissioned a new section mill plant at its Prum factory premises to expand production. The $10 million investment is part of the company's expansion project to address the growing demand for steel products in the market. It also forms part of the company's avowed confidence in the economy, hence the investment. Section mills are facilities that carry out series of processes to produce angle bars, flat bar panels, square bars, among other merchant bars, aimed at meeting the growing needs of the construction and fabrication industry. Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Michael Autry Bafi, said the government, in recognition of these significant contributions by the private sector, had also introduced industrial development programs such as the 1D1F initiative to boost private sector development. President Akuffuor has urged investors from Norway to consider partnering government to develop a modern railway network in the country. This follows recent comments by the Minister of Railway Development, John Peter Ameu, to the effect that the government would not be able to construct any sky train in the country in the near future. The minister noted that funding for the construction of some of the already started projects is becoming problematic for the government. But in an address at the Ghana-Norway Business and Investment Forum in Accra, President Akuffuor noted that his government is embarking on an aggressive program to attract the needed investment to develop the railway and road infrastructure needed in the country. Quote, members of the Norwegian business community, you can choose to invest in Ghana through the GIPC or set up as a free zone enterprise, regardless of where the investment is. The government has instituted a number of fiscal incentives for the investor, depending on the nature of the activity or the location of the investment, he added. Rice millers in Ghana are hopeful of meeting over 60% of local demand for the grain if government designs a deliberate policy that encourages state institutions to buy Ghana rice during and after festive season. With the festive season just around the corner, public and private companies are likely to share bags of rice and other food items as end-of-year presents to their staff. Most often, these companies purchase foreign rice for their staff due to the preference for imported rice. Currently, rice imports are estimated to cost the nation over $1.1 billion every year, a situation that is said to put pressure on the exchange rate regime, leading to a depreciation of the cedi. This, stakeholders in the rice value chain have argued, could be reversed to reduce the pressure and the local currency, as well as create jobs for Ghanaians if government led in the purchase of Ghana rice. South Africa has recorded a sharp increase in coronavirus infection, which have doubled across the country since Monday. Health officials say the newly discovered Omicron variant may be fueling the surge, although it isn't clear how many of the new cases it accounts for. Some 8,500 COVID infections have been registered in the last 24 hours. South Africa was the first country to detect the highly mutated new variant, which was announced last week. The United States had identified its first Omicron case in someone who had returned to the country from South Africa. Many questions about the new variant remain to be answered, including whether it is more transmissible and how much protection current vaccines provide. The African Union and the United Nations have jointly criticized travel restrictions put on several southern African countries following the discovery of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the restriction could lead to, quote, travel apartheid, describing them as, quote, deeply unfair, punitive, and ineffective in stopping the spread of the variant. He said Africans should not be collectively punished for sharing health information with the world. The AU chairperson Mohamed Faki said wealthier nations should help the continent increase its vaccination rates, which currently stand at under 6%, while some developed countries are already giving third booster shots. It comes just a day after South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and his Nigerian counterparts asked countries to reverse the travel ban. The World Health Organization said at least 23 countries globally have now reported cases of Omicron. The U.S. Supreme Court appears poised to accept a Mississippi law that would bar abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, even in cases of rape or incest. In Wednesday's hearing into the case, conservative justices hinted that a majority backed upholding the law. A ruling expected in June may see millions of women lose abortion access. Anti-abortion activists are urging the court to, quote, protect unborn children, but experts warn of an increase in maternal mortality if abortion is restricted. Both sides of the debate regard this case, known as Dubs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, as an all-or-nothing fight over abortion rights. Lawyers defending the Mississippi law have asked the court to overturn two previous landmark decisions regarding abortion. Liverpool increased the scrutiny on former manager Rafael Benitez as they cruised to an easy Merseyside derby win over Everton at Goodison Park. Jurgen Klopp's side had won only once on their previous 9 visits to Everton, but a blistering start put them on a cruise control as Jordan Henderson scored with a composed finish after 9 minutes before setting Mohamed Salah clear to beat Jordan Pickford 10 minutes later. Everton, having been outclassed for the first half, gave themselves hope when Demarai Gray ran on to Richarlison's pass to beat Alisson 7 minutes before the break. Liverpool was still the team possessing all the quality and threat, and they killed the game off when Salah crashed in on Seamus Coleman's error to race clear and expertly score after 64 minutes. Christian Romero will not play again in 2021 as his injury is, quote, very serious, says Tottenham manager Antonio Conte. The defender, aged 23, damaged his left hamstring during Argentina's 0-0 draw with Brazil on 16th November and has missed Spurs' past 2 games. Conte said last week the £42.5 million summer signing from Atalanta needed another scan on his injury. The news is not positive, he said. I don't know January, February, But for 2021, he has finished to play. Romero has played 13 games for Spurs in all competitions this season. Now he's trying to recover, but he needs a long time to recover, Conte added. Quote, "It is a pity because he is an important player for us. The injury is very serious. It will take time before we see him again. We have to check his injury week by week. We have to wait and recover well." A social media sensation, Akuffuor, is to go back to the Nsawam medium security prison to complete her 90-day jail sentence. This follows the dismissal of her appeal against the sentence by the Criminal Division of the High Court. Justice Ruby Aite, the presiding judge, held that the sentence, as handed down by an Accra Circuit Court last April, was not, on the face of it, excessive and would thus not be interfered with. Known in private life as Roseman Brown, the controversial social media personality landed herself in trouble when she posted nudes of her then 7-year-old son on social media in an unusual celebratory style. She was said to have violated the dignity and rights of the son. Her subsequent 90-day jail term sentence was, however, described by her lawyers as harsh and thus appealed against it. In the considered view of her ladyship, quote, "The trial judge imposed a harsh sentence to serve as a deterrent to others from committing the same crime." Nicolas Cage is set to star as Dracula in Universal's Rainfield, a monster movie centered around Dracula's sidekick and based on an original story outlined from Robert Kirkman, according to an individual with knowledge of the project. Cage will star opposite Nicholas Hoult, quote, "Those Who Wish Me Dead" X-Men franchise. In Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula, Rainfield was a patient in an insane asylum who ate vermin to absorb their life force, and whom Count Dracula used to enter their asylum and attack Jonathan Hacker's schoolmistress fiancée Mina. The film will be produced by Skybound Entertainment film team, including Kirkman, David Alpert, Brian First, and Sean First. Mickey's producing partner Samantha Nissenboim will be joining the project as executive producer.